everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to day 5 of the Back to Basics challenge, which will be our last day. But of course, you can always go back and watch all 5 days. They are in the playlist. When you go to my channel page, you're going to find all of them for easy access. So let's do a quick recap. On Monday, we talked about posture, support, and breathing. On day 2, we talked about the vocal registers and the transition between them. On day 3, we talked about all the moving parts, which are larynx, pharynx, lips, soft palate, tongue. Jaw, actually, too. We did talk about the jaw. Yesterday, we talked about vibrato and phrasing and how they kind of are connected, and dynamics has a lot to do with phrasing. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that I think everyone always asks me about. Hi, Akala. And that is placement or resonance, or sometimes we call it twang or ping or ring or overtones or squillo in Italian. So all these words describe the quality of tone that we desire, which is a beautiful tone. Really, we could just say a beautiful tone, which of course, what is beautiful? It is very much a matter of taste. You know, voices are a matter of taste. What you find beautiful. I know there are some people who find one voice beautiful and I'm thinking, it's okay. And then there are voices that I think are absolutely stunning, angelic. And maybe someone else I know thinks, well, I guess it's okay. But this is not to say, this has nothing to do just with, if someone's intonation is good. We talked about all these aspects, but we're talking about the actual sound of the voice. Now, of course, what we bring to the table is biological, and it is partially predetermined. When you speak, you will sound different from anyone else because you have a unique voice, just like your face looks different. And we can recognize you as you. Your voice also sounds different, and we can recognize your voice as you. And that's a good thing. So your voice already sounds different from anyone else's. I know we can imitate other voices sometimes, and sometimes voices sound quite similar. Just even some faces, you may think, oh, this person looks a lot like that person. It's rare. And also, even though there might be similarities, it's never exactly the same. That's the miracle of all creation, being, and it's just so amazing that even though there are so many human beings, and how many humans have ever lived, ever, since the beginning of humanity? I have no idea. It's a lot. But everyone has been unique. Every individual is absolutely unique. There is none like the other. Isn't that amazing? So remember that when we talk about your voice, it's not like anyone else's. So don't compare yourself to someone else. But we also talked about it when you want to copy like a master, just learning the technique of what they do, that can actually help you. So we're going to talk today about the elements that you can copy to sound more like you. So when we talk about resonance and overtones, we're talking about an open tone. What do we want? We already talked about it when we talk about the soft palate and the tongue position. We want the sound waves to be amplified as much as possible, to not be cut off, to not just ring in the nose, but to resonate as much as possible. So number 1, we have bones in our skull, and all those bone structures here. They can resonate along with the frequency that the vocal cords create. And also there are hollow spaces that can amplify. Think of like concert hall, right? You sing in a very small space, everything sounds very small. You sing in a large space, it amplifies everything. Just creating more space around where the tone is created automatically creates more volume. So we want that. How can we do that with a voice? Basically, your mouth, inside of your mouth is a large space that we can open up that can either be nice and open or it can be blocked. It can be blocked by the tongue. Now my tongue is filling the inside of my mouth versus Na. Now I'm opening it up and I'm allowing this space to be round and, empty, basically. Empty so that sound waves can be amplified. And we talked about it when we talked about the lips. Your lips can also they can extend that space that we have to create more room for resonance. So, yeah. It just can add more overtones to the actual sound. The soft palate is, of course, very important because raised, and like I said before, you can't have a non-raised soft palate. You can't have it closes up with the back of your tongue. It goes together. You can't just lift the soft palate without doing anything with the tongue. You really have to think openness all the way in the back of your throat, that pharyngeal space. How do we achieve this? The most important thing is to think overall round space. And I always like to think vertical. But where do we do this in singing? Mainly on the vowels. So the vowels are where most of the sound is happening. And on the open vowels, we want to make sure we are shaping them correctly so that the sound is placed correctly. So if I'm going, it's like, let's see, which one is it now? Let me think of it's like, hello from the other side. I must have tried 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done when I call you. See, it's not placed correctly. Hello from the other side. A lot of sounds in there, so let's take it apart. H is not a voiced sound, of course. Hello. Hello. Hey. Is nasal and wide. We don't want to spread the cheeks sidewards. We also don't want to cover. You basically want to always have the feeling like you're doing a slight smile, not sideways, but almost like just with the top of your lip, like hello instead of hello or hello. Hello. Oh, there's a diphthong. A diphthong means there are two vowels following each other. Oh, hello. Oh, I, oh, wa, like what? That could technically actually be a diphthong. It's written as a W, but it's technically almost like an oo, like what? So diphthongs, pay attention. We want to hear actually both vowels that can, that make up the diphthong. Hello. It's not hello or hello. 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 Hello from, depending on if you're more British or American, from. Hello from the other side. Oh, when we see the word, we see S-I-D-E. But the I is actually an ah sound mostly, another diphthong. Side. See, it's I. So the ah is kind of the most important here because it's the open one and the E comes late. Thank you, Majesty Odaudu. Yes, well, the sweatshirt, make today amazing. Yes. And thank you for just try to do something different today. Diphthongs are important. So remember to ask yourself, what are the vowels that make up that diphthong? Hello. Now we have an L. Again, I want to have open space. What's happening with the L? The tongue is behind the teeth. It kind of curls up just a bit. But in the back of my throat, I want to have an open space. It wants to remain open. Hell. Oh, now I'm closing the throat, then it becomes nasal. hell, See in the back of my throat? I'm placing the sound to where there is hollow space somewhere. Hello from the other side. I must have... What is it? Must have come another... Why can I not remember the words now? Let me look this up. It's ridiculous. It's like when I'm out of context, it becomes more difficult. Must have. Okay. Where is it? I must have called 1,000 times. Of course. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But when I call you, if it's nasal, but when I call you, never seem to be home. It also sounds a bit more brassy. You warm up the sound by giving it more space. Now, on the other hand, what we don't want to do, now classical and non-classical singing has slightly different placement, because in classical singing, we typically don't have amplification like electronic, like microphones. We don't have that usually. In classical music, we rely solely on the voice, and that's why the technique there is slightly different than you would be more like more space, more vertical space. A little bit of a lower larynx. Hello from the other side. Also, you would probably have more vibrato, more consistent vibrato, and less straight tones in classical singing, whereas in pop, we do actually work quite a bit with more straight tones and only put the vibrato sometimes. But that's really what's happening with placement. Now, we could talk about all the vowels and all the consonants. It's all important. You basically have to know exactly where to put like your tongue and your soft palate and your lips for every sound that you could possibly make. So it will change a little bit depending on whether you're singing in English, German. German has different sounds. This week I was talking to a student about the soft CH in German, which is not easy for non-Germans, especially Americans, like ich. It's a sound. It's where do you place your tongue? Where do you put it all, right? That's what we call placement, really. Let's talk a little bit. I recently actually made a video about singing into the mask. What does it mean and how do you do it? We call it the mask because it's almost like you're wearing a mask on your face, right? So we have the forehead, we have like all these bony structures here, your cheeks, all the way into your mouth cavity. And what we want typically is we want to think of this entire area to vibrate, to resonate. And that's what we call the mask. Now, the mask, typically, you're talking about something like this, but I'm thinking, for me personally, the mask goes all the way here into the forehead because I'm aiming to get the sound also resonating here. So when we talk about higher placement, you want a forward placement and high placement. That doesn't mean it's a high pitch. It only means you don't want to cut the sound off here, like, hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry. So it's very dark and it's very pulled back. Hello from the other side. So it's very much throaty, right? It sounds very much in the throat because it's kind of cut off right here. And it's not going here. You can literally hear that it's not ringing anywhere. It has no brightness. And the brightness comes because we have bright overtones that are actually higher pitches that are going to be part of the entire resonance, that tone that you actually hear. It's not just one frequency. There are actually more frequencies involved, which are responsible for making you sound unique. It's because you have different overtones, because those bone structures are slightly shaped different in your skull than in anyone else's. That's why you sound a little bit different than someone else, or maybe sometimes a lot different. It's because your body is shaped slightly different. I mean, we still have the same parts, and when it comes to the voice, male and female voices have the exact same parts. Maybe unlike some other parts of the body where there are differences in the voice, the only difference between male and female voice is really just the size and really the size. It's like shorter, smaller, more petite vocal cords make higher pitches than larger, thicker vocal cords, which can make lower sounds. And that's why you're maybe a bass or a tenor or a soprano or an alto. It's because of the way you're shaped, which, by the way, it's not necessarily connected to your overall body size or height. I've had, like, there are tenors who are tiny, and there are tenors, like, think Luciano Pavarotti. Not a tiny person. He was not tiny, but I've had a colleague, and you can't see it. There's actually a photo on the wall right here and behind me of a colleague of mine. We sang an opera together, and he had this beautiful, bright voice, but just like he was short and very tiny, like very thin guy, but like a big voice actually for a tenor, So it's not necessarily connected. I've seen basses who are not tall, large people. I've seen basses who are very small people. And same goes for female voices, like big body doesn't mean big voice. Even the volume level, it has nothing to do really with your body size. It's really the vocal tract. It's all of this, especially this right here. And it's fascinating how small differences make actually like in anatomy, make a big difference in sound, which also is true for when we call placement, the resonance. Small changes make a big difference. So if I'm singing classically, if I go, so very screechy, openness, it sounds much more brilliant. Versus, see how it makes a big difference? So the first one was way too dark, and the second one was way too bright and narrow. So it makes a big difference. So I think we're going to leave it at this, because placement is something I want to encourage you to experiment. You have to experiment how sound changes depending on, maybe make that vowel a bit more open or a bit more closed, a little bit more narrow or a little bit brighter. One thing comes to mind. I was just talking this week to one of my students in the vocal mastery lab about the E vowel, as in E. And for him, it was a little bit like E. It's kind of, it wasn't placed correctly. So what we need is an open throat and the tongue really pressing up between the molars there. But the tip of the tongue remains relaxed. So, and it was too dark, too far back. So we tried to get it forward, that sound, See how it has more brightness in this? So we tried to get it more bright for the sound that we're trying to aim for. And E is actually a great exercise. Very throaty, and the vocal cords work so hard. So that's where we get that nasal resonance in there. Now, nasal resonance is not the same as nasal singing. We don't want to sound nasal. Why do Americans often say, "Oh, I sound nasally"? I think that's grammatically incorrect, right? I sing nasally, but I sound nasal. Is that correct? If I remember correctly from school, one is an adverb and the other one is an adjective. So, yes, you want to experiment. And inside of my Back to Basics course, which is included when you become a member of my online singing school, and the link is in the description, you will find a video for each vowel and for each group of consonants. And actually, I'm talking about every single one that is common. And even the Italian ones, there's a rolled R, there's a flipped R, and there is a German R, or like French and German. It's slightly different. It happens in the same place, in the same spot, but the French is tighter, and the German is it's a little more loose and it rolls more. Although we don't actually roll it, we actually flip it. Experiment with all vowels. You have to literally learn how to sing every single vowel correctly. You will have a much better sound if you actually individually look at all the vowels and learn how to place them correctly. And then whenever you're singing a song, a piece of music, remember that. If something isn't sounding right, ask yourself, is that vowel or even that voiced consonant or even a non-voiced consonant, is it placed correctly? Am I shaping this right? Is the tongue doing the right thing? Are the lips doing the right thing? The soft palate, the pharynx, that throat space, is it all shaped correctly so that the sound waves are placed in the right place so that we hear the correct sound in the end? I want to go back and now look at all your comments. Oh, today's topic is the most important and interesting. Yes, it's also something that it's the one where you will tweak forever. Like, I don't really have to think about my breathing too much anymore. It's very second nature. But when it comes to resonance, I mean, most of the time I don't really think about it in a very intentional way because it's automatic. But when it comes to anything that doesn't work, any tone is like, oh, it doesn't sound quite right. It's what I focus on the most. It's resonance, placing. I'm just actually, let me give you another example. As I said before, I'm currently working on Let It Go from Frozen. So let me get the key. Let It Go karaoke. The trick here is, let's see. Wait, I just want to. Okay, so I just wanted to get the key. So it starts low and soft. The snow glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. I think that's the hard part here. And what I want is not snow glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. I don't want to sound dark or low. I want to sound mysterious, and maybe I'm still a little bit afraid. It's like, what's going on? She hasn't broken free yet, right here. So the snow glows white. I want to have a beautiful open tone on the mountain tonight. Tonight. Really getting the right shade of vowel. Not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation. And it looks like I'm the queen. The wind is howling like this swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in, heaven knows I tried. That's hard. And I'm sitting, I really have to stand up. And then we slowly approach more intense chest voice. Don't let them in, don't let them see. Be the good girl you always have to be. So it's all about placement here. Don't let them in. It's too much. It's too far in the throat. I want to open it more. Don't let them in, don't let them see. I want to have that kind tone. Be the good girl, be the good girl. It's too throaty. Be the good girl you always have to be. Have to be. So I want to place it right. Have to be. Conceal, don't feel. And I also want to make sure this is Disney, which means it's important to be, like, the diction needs to be flawless. It's not country. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. We don't want to do that. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Well, now they know. No, it's too harsh. We're not there yet. Well, now they know. Placed nice and forward, nice and open. And then on that first let it go, we're not at the climax yet. It's not let it go, let it go. No, we're not even there yet. Let it go, can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, turn away and slam the door. Slam the door, slam the door, slam. See, I could place it all these different ways, but I'm trying to find the sweet zone. Go away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. So here we're getting into the direction of full belted top voice. It's not quite mixed yet. It's not it's not yelled. It's also not it's not too breathy. I don't care. You gotta find that sweet spot of having openness and the right shade of vowel. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. Now we're getting soft. The cold never bothered me anyway. So low. It's just so low. So it's just an example of how I'm constantly working on, okay, how can I tweak the placement? How can I make it right so it sounds good? Okay, let me continue. Hi, Conrada. Hello. Okay, Eileen, you're here again. Caroline is here again. I wonder if the mask feels different for different pitches. Yes, it does. So I think I recently made a video about the mask where I actually talk about that. I have the feeling that the mask there are different masks depending whether I want even, pop or opera. I feel it changes, and also depending on where you sing in your range, definitely the higher I go, the higher I think placement, the higher I think the resonance is taking place. When I go, let it go, it's much more here up to here. It's a lot of chest down here. Not so much forehead. But when I go, well, I can't do it now. Much more here. And especially, I want to not darken. Yes, I do feel the mask kind of changes where it is. It is the whole head, but it's almost like you want to have that image. And I don't know if you measure it. I feel like it actually I feel like even that there's more buzz around this area here when I sing higher than when it's lower, which then I feel it more like around my throat and chest. If so, is that the way all pitches are supposed to feel, or do I aim to feel this way on every pitch? It does change. Yeah, it does change where it is placed and where it has that main buzz. That's why we love doing exercises that kind of help us feel that forward placement, such as, za 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 z. If you're taking it backward, it doesn't buzz too much. So anything also semi-occluded, like ma 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 I'm trying to kind of get it here. And yes, it does change from vowel to vowel a bit and from pitch to pitch. Monica. Oh, vintage songs cover. That sounds really nice. Interesting. I try to sing For Your Eyes Only. Oh, great song. It's very difficult to have a rich tone, yeah. It's very hard to go back from mix to chest. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have the right key? Let me get that key. For your eyes only. Sheena Easton. Okay, let me see if I can find just the right key. For your... Oh, it's a little lower than I just thought. Yes, so in the beginning it's like, for your eyes only, and I don't know the words right now. So very relaxed on the vocal cords. Very relaxed. Think very close to the microphone. For your eyes only, da 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 da. And then comes a na 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 na. You want to have a nice open throat. For your eyes only, only for you. Whatever I sing on and on, whatever the day, for your eyes only. Straight tone really helps here. Lots of straight tone. For your eyes only. And like I said yesterday, treat every phrase like it's one long word. For your eyes only. Like really connected. For your eyes only. Only for you. And then, of course, mix has a lot to do with getting that top pitch. If you get too heavy, it's too dark and too yelled. For your eyes only, only for you. It's too heavy. More open throat, brightness in your without being wide. For your eyes only, eyes. You don't want to yell. You don't want a nice forward place, well supported. Now, all the things we talked about this week will play into this. Yeah, when you go from mix to chest, you have to really be careful to not darken too much. Here's what happens. It's like na 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 for. Then you're kind of stuck in the darkness. You're pulling it down. The larynx is too low. It's like na 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 na. Relax that larynx upward just a bit as you're coming down, so that it doesn't get stuck in this. Okay. Does vibrato need to be seen moving up and down all way from the pitch when seeing in a pitch app looking like a mountain? Oh, no. The vibrato is a very, very tiny oscillation. And yes, when you're putting vibrato on in one of those pitch identifying apps, you can see if the tone is straight or if it has a vibrato. But it's a very, very small, but you can see actually in that app if it's an even vibrato or if it's kind of wobbly. If it sometimes has larger mountains and sometimes smaller, you see if it's a nice kind of more round curve like a wave or kind of like zigzag. We don't want it to be much zigzag, but like a tiny curve, which is much tinier than you actually singing melody, and that goes up and down a lot, of course. Are some vowels intentionally made nasal by the body, like a U or M? Well, a U is not really that nasal. Ooh. If you leave open the back of your throat, it's not that nasal. And on oo, you don't want to cover it. Ooh. So when you go higher, of course, than head voice, you're going to have to open it up. But there are a lot of nasal sounds. There's an M, which is a nasal sound, and N is a nasal sound. And there is a nasal resonance, more or less, in all of it. But some sounds are definitely just straight up nasal sounds. But that doesn't mean you can't add resonance right back here. As long as you can open something, which the pharynx, you can still open that, even when you're doing an M. And I always like that example of Baquianas Brasileiras. It literally has the end part, Baquianas Brasileiras, number 5, Villa-Lobos. It's a soprano aria with, actually originally it's a cello orchestra. And then it comes this vocalise. And the vocalise is on, the end part is on an M. And so it's like, I'm not good at it right now. I think it might be lower. And basically with a closed mouth, you're supposed to sing all this really high and difficult stuff over an orchestra. Now the orchestra is not very loud. They pluck mostly. But it's still very difficult. But because it might be an M and you're enclosing the sound, but you're enclosing it. You're still trying to open inside of your mouth and the back of your throat, that pharyngeal space, you're still trying to open. So yes, lots of nasal resonance, but it can be amplified by opening up those other spaces I just talked about. Versus see how there's like not a lot of sound? That's why I like to do like chewing, like getting that awareness of you can give it more or less space even on a closed sound that's supposed to be quite nasal, but you can make it nasal and other spaces resonating. So ist das. Danke für deine Videos. Gruß aus Hamburg. Well, Grüße zurück nach Hamburg aus dem Süden von Deutschland. It's really funny. Sometimes I still get comments below my videos like, why is her German pronunciation so great? Like when I'm singing a German song and like others then comment, well, she is German. But my English has definitely gotten better. When I go from chest to mix, it's like the sound feeling in the nose and soft palate and little vibration in small part of the chest. But when really high, there's no vibration. Well, here's the thing. Higher frequencies have very fast vibration, so you can't really feel it. It still vibrates, but you can't feel it. Low vibrations are easily felt. So when you sing low, just touch your throat. It's like, oh, la, 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 la. It's easily felt. Low. You can't feel it, but even your vocal cords, there's definitely vibration because it's so high, it's so fast that you can hardly feel it. Yes, that is very normal. You can't feel it, but believe me, there's vibration. How to learn to sing online if starting from scratch. I know there are many programs, and I think it really depends on what type of learner you are. There are video courses where you could just, like go through videos, and basically it's a do it yourself. You learn on your own. You watch the videos, you watch the lessons, and then I think a course is very useful when on YouTube there's just so much and sometimes you don't know where to start. So a course is useful, whether it's my course or other courses, because you have an actual outline and okay, lesson 1, that's what I start with. And then lesson 2. So you have a progression of someone actually having thought about, okay, this makes sense. You do this first, then you do this, then you do this. Then there are also programs where, you could have a one-on-one coach online. There are teachers who offer one-on-one like Zoom lessons. I think that's very similar to actually having a local teacher and going in his studio, except you're doing it from home, you're doing it online. If you have, a decent internet connection, that can work really well. I don't actually, I do offer one-on-one, but it's not anything I want to talk about because it's like, I do it rarely and I don't really actually offer it unless it's someone who's like extremely serious about wanting to do it. And then there are communities, such as my community now. I know there are other programs out there who are similar. But for example, in my online singing school, it's a combination of all the courses, all the videos where you can self-study, but also more than that, there is a guidance, there is interaction with real people, you have a community, and you also have live meetings with an actual vocal coach. Like we do have group coaching sessions and karaoke meetings. Next week is our karaoke session with me, and I usually sing something too. Something I do opera. Sometimes I do opera. Sometimes I do something jazz or pop, whatever I want to do. And it's a kind of combination. If you wanted to do online, I think it's the most fun probably. And it helps you be motivated because you have that community aspect and you have interaction with real people. So I hope that helps you. The link is below if you did want to check out my membership. It's a monthly subscription. And this week only, you can get in for $9 the first month. And after that, it's going to be $47. That is a special offer that I have just for this week. Okay. I cannot do full chest up anyway. Yeah, no, full chest up there in that song. It's a bit high and also doesn't sound so great. Yeah. I think you can only do less volume when you practice daily to go higher with your chest voice, because the highest pitch in chest voice will always be the most strained. Like, see what I mean? If, for example, you can, like a C is like the highest you can possibly get in chest voice and then it breaks. A C is going to be very hard and you can only do it when you're like really yelling it out. Full chest. But if I could do an E and still be in chest voice, the C can become so much lighter and I can just get off the gas pedal because my muscles can now sustain it. It's like when you lift, think about this analogy, it's very much the same. When you lift weights, when you do a very light weight, you can do very smooth movements and you don't really have to push it too much, right? When you have a really heavy weight, it's like you can only really get that movement done if you go, oh, you have to kind of force it a bit. It's very much the same with singing. And then, the more you train your muscles, then the muscle, that weight that used to be so heavy where you could only kind of just jerk it up there, now you can lift so much heavier, and that weight that used to be so heavy becomes like, oh, okay, I can do it. Smooth movement. Same with singing, believe me. I remember when the high, like a C5 in chest voice was very high for me, and it was like the limit. And I could only do it if I was like strong. And now I can do it much easier. So it's like, I don't know where the C is anymore now. I don't have my piano on. I'm going live about singing. I don't have my piano turned on because I'm so used to also singing a cappella, everything. Yes, definitely. How can you control your... What do you mean, VU? What do you mean? How can a person balance between chest voice and singing on falsetto? Let me see if y'all know what you mean. Chest voice falsetto, no. I always like the Chris Isaac. No, I don't want to fall in love. So it's two different registers. You mean the transition? How to transition? I do have videos about how to transition from chest to falsetto. It's just a register change. Now falsetto is head voice, but breathy. Light and airy head voice. Head voice. Falsetto. Ah. That's falsetto. Ah. That's more head voice. Same register, but just more breathy on the falsetto. Okay. If there are no more questions, I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to have another live next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually going to do 2 lives. Those of you who are interested in anything classical and opera, I do have a other channel. I created a new channel just a while back just about opera. It's called Freya Casey Opera and Classical Singing. Subscribe there, and I will be going live next week on, I think I scheduled it. Yes, it's for Tuesday. It should be there already. I scheduled it already, so it should appear. On Tuesday, I'm going live and doing like just an opera talk. We're talking about opera and classical singing there on that other channel. And here on this channel, I'm going live. No, wait, I think I did it the other way. Let me check my calendar just to make sure. On Monday, I'm going live on this channel here at 2 p.m. Central European time, which would make it 7 a.m. I know it's early for the Eastern in the US, but of course there will be a replay. And on Monday on this channel, I'm going to talk about what makes this singer great. I know Rick Beato he does a lot of videos about what makes this song great. And I want to talk about what makes this singer great. And we're just going to talk about, I don't have anyone picked. So if there are people who show up live, you can suggest, and we're going to look at singers together. And again, of course, YouTube is going to be like, oh, you can't monetize or copyright claim, whatever. But I will always fight against it. And so far, I was always successful in getting the video to be able to be viewed. It doesn't matter about the monetization, but so that people can view it, because this is fair use. You know, analyzing and teaching is fair use. I'm not stealing the music. So that is happening next Monday, 2 p.m. Central European time. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up, and I hope to see you in one of my next live streams, or better yet, inside the online singing school, so we can chat there and I can actually see your faces and I can hear your voices. Have an amazing day. Happy weekend. Be blessed and always keep on singing. Bye for now.